I'm just gonna get straight to the point. I love the Portal games. I love them very much. I've been talking about making this video for a pretty long time now, and here we are. There's so much to love about these games. The Easter eggs, the characters, the gameplay, and the stories are so creative and fun that I find myself fascinated by these games. The first game is pretty bare bones, but still a very effective puzzle game with the looming threat of a sarcastic killer robot that weirdly has feelings about you but also doesn't at all. And in this game there's only really two characters, you and GLaDOS. Well, actually technically the turrets are characters too, I guess. They make you feel bad for destroying them, even though their sole purpose is destroying you. So, isn't that fun?
Is anyone there? Why? No hard feelings. I don't blame you. Target acquired.
Oh, and how did I almost forget about the personality cores? You meet them in both the first and the second games, and they really break the ice during dramatic boss fights. But then also there's technically the most harmless character of all, the companion cube. You grow an emotional attachment to a literal cube with hearts on it, only for you to have to be the one to evaporate it into a giant incinerator in order to progress through the game. I have depression now.
What you say?
Also, the cake is a lie. I feel weird saying that, but classic quote you've probably heard 1,000 times, even if you have no idea what I'm talking about right now. Judging by the ending, apparently it's not. Kinda messed up she never gives it to you and instead tries to kill you, but who needs sugar when you have death? Nothing like a near-death experience to get the adrenaline pump. But anyway, the game itself is obviously about portals. Basically, you get a portal gun that teleports you from one place to another. It's a pretty cool concept, and since I first played this game, I wanted a portal gun so bad. I have a tiny one in my room. It doesn't work. To be in two places at the same time is kind of impossible, but I don't care. I dreamed of having one ever since, even to this day. It's a very solid game, one that I played one too many times. Keep in mind, I might be a little biased because back in 2010, Portal was completely free for a limited time. It was the #1 most played free game on my computer. To give it credit though, this game is weirdly fun to speedrun. And then of course, what this video is really about is the second game. The second game is genuinely one of my favorite games of all time. It improves on everything that made the first game so great. More characters, a deeper story you get genuinely invested in, witty and silly dialogue, and lots of puzzles that scratch your head in all the right ways. It's a very special game to me, and the only things I love just as much as the game itself are the things that people make about it. Harry101 UK, for example, is somebody I've been following for a pretty long time, who is still making really cool videos about Portal 2 that constantly remind me of why I love this game's aesthetic in the first place. The next thing I love is the characters. Wheatley is the dorkiest villain, but he's also likable and a joy to be in the presence of, played by Stephen Merchant. GLaDOS is played by Ellen McLean, and honestly, I can't imagine anyone else doing the voice of GLaDOS. Picking good voice actors for a video game is pretty important, because the jokes in this game are pretty funny, but they're even better when the voice actors understand the jokes and deliver them perfectly. Cave Johnson, for example, is played by J.K. Simmons, who also plays Omni-Man in the show Invincible.
Don't make lemonade. Make life. Take the lemons back. Get mad. How do we get so many bullets in them? Like this. Those of you who volunteered to be injected with praying mantis DNA, I've got some good news and some bad news.
Cave Johnson being the CEO guy, GLaDOS is back with a vengeance. She remembers you. You literally killed her. Sorry about that. She knows what you've been through together, and her nihilism devolves into an inevitable hopefulness that she never sees you again. In other words, you're still alive, but she wants you gone. Because in her eyes, you are her worst test subject. You somehow made it out alive and destroyed her. And now you're living through the desolate but surprisingly functional remains of her clever puzzles. The first Portal game isn't much of a spoiler. You get belittled and berated for being a literal orphan by a robot. A robot who you may argue is more of a neutral presence with faulty programming. Or at least that's my guess. GLaDOS goes awry and destroys all of the scientists with neurotoxin, which is why when you go through the test, albeit orderly and clean, it also has a surprising emptiness. In the first game, you escape the big scary fire destined to eliminate the test subject, which is you, and yet it still feels like you're not seeing the full scope of Aperture Science. The second game opens up new possibilities for gameplay and storyline that are fun and exciting to experience for the first time. You learn that GLaDOS is actually Cave Johnson's wife. You also learn that Aperture Science was originally a shower curtain manufacturer. GLaDOS is a potato for a bit, and you're having a good time. I just vividly remember being so excited about this game coming out. The only other game I was looking forward to was a new Sly Cooper game. It's only platonic, I swear. But really though, this game made me feel things.
No! 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 No!
Wow! Check me out, partner. We did it! I'm in control of the whole facility now.
What the fuck was that? It was at this moment I was starting to regret, well, everything. Even though I had really no say in this, I still felt like it was a bad idea. Heading closer and closer to the game's release every day, I really didn't know what to expect, but I had a feeling it was going to be a pretty good game, especially when I saw those teaser trailers and literally got shivers down my back.
It's been a long time. How have you been?
It felt grittier, it felt bigger, and more interesting, and it didn't disappoint. Alongside the release of the second game was a comic. The comic was called Lab Rat, and it's an entire story about how you, the main character, basically came to exist. Throughout the story, the companion cube talks to him. It only stops talking to him after he takes an implied antipsychotic medication. I gotta take my normal pills. Alright, I'm good. MatPat has a fun little theory about that, but we don't talk about that. It's a darker twist, a different perspective, a comic that's completely canon to the lore of the universe in which Aperture Science exists. Also, it's hard not to mention that it's a funny game too. Both Portal games are well known for having a somewhat dark sense of humor, but other times it's either witty, clever, or just plain dumb. Regardless, it's pretty funny, with or without context.
If the laws of physics no longer apply in the future, God help you.
Seriously, I'm not joking. Could you just turn around for a second? They told me that if I ever turned this flashlight on, I would die. They told me that about everything. I mean, I don't even know why they bothered giving me this stuff if they didn't want me to use it. It's pointless.
If you meet yourself on the testing track, don't make eye contact. Lab boys tell me that'll wipe out time. Entirely. Forward and backward. They're telling me I ought to stop making these pre-recorded messages. That gave me an idea. Make more pre-recorded messages. I pay the bills here, I can talk about the control group all damn day.
Smooth jazz will be deployed in 3, 2, 1.
Holmes versus Moriarty. Aristotle versus Mashy Spike Plate. Look how small you are down there.
Rest assured that all lethal military androids have been taught to read.
Not to mention GLaDOS is the sarcastic, devilish mother I never had.
This plate must not be calibrated to someone of your generousness. I'll add a few zeros to the maximum weight. You look great. When you die, I'm going to laminate your skeleton and pose you in the lobby. That jumpsuit you're wearing looks stupid. That's not me talking. It's right here in your file. On other people it looks fine. But right here a scientist has noted that on you it looks stupid. Did you know that people with guilty consciences are more easily startled by loud noises? I'm sorry. I don't know why that went off. Initiating surprise in 3, 2, 1. I made it all up. Surprise.
You wake up in a weird hotel room type thingy and you've been in a coma for
50 days.
Wait, no, sorry. Actually, it's a little more like
You have been in suspension for 9.
that amount of time, with little context other than the first game's clean slate to work off of. It's definitely easy to say that the second game wouldn't have been so good if it didn't have the building blocks of the first Portal game. With that being said, it's interesting to think that the first Portal game could have been completely different. I say this, of course, after doing some research about Portal and how it came to be. Apparently, as early as 2005, the first Portal game originally had a much different vibe. The linear path to get to the boss fight was gonna just be a venture you did all on your own, without the guidance of GLaDOS making fun of your lack of parents or sarcastically glitching out before giving you super important information.
This next test does require some explanation. Let me give you the fast version. To reiterate, momentum.
I do think it would have been a little more lonely without the witty and hateful narrations of GLaDOS watching your every move through little cameras. I mean, imagine breaking one of those cameras and not getting that funny feeling that someone is mad at you for doing that. I guess this game really made me embrace my rebellious side. Ha! Take that. The original goal of the game was to look for car batteries to open a door, a lot more similar to journeying through a rigged, gruesome escape map. It would have had an even more darker vibe than it originally did. Also, you probably already knew that a fair amount of Half-Life assets were used to create Portal as it is now, but in the beginning it had much greener and grimmer textures throughout the game. Textures and sound effects that were very obviously from Half-Life, but it would later be redeveloped into the clean sci-fi look we know and love today. It's pretty much 1000% canon that Half-Life and Portal are definitely in the same universe, with both games often mentioning each other in a pretty tongue-in-cheek way. Not to mention the Portal concept was inspired by a completely different game called Narbocular Drop. That game had more of a brownish gray color scheme, but the blue and orange portals were directly taken from this game. Valve also hired a lot of the same people who worked on this game to work on Portal. I think that's pretty cool. Flash forward a bit to the 2007 GDC demo. At that point, not much had really changed. The portals looked a little bit different, and Shell was originally not the character you were gonna play. It was gonna be some guy named Steve. Or something. I don't know. Also, the final battle was gonna be kind of depressing, apparently. You were basically just gonna shoot turret rockets at her until she died. They changed this because the beta testers felt bad about how defenseless she was, and just how anticlimactic it felt too. There wouldn't have been any build-up, but it also kind of defeats the purpose when the entire game was based off of cerebral puzzles and clever escaping. Fortunately, the new boss fight would honor those very principles, so that instead, you're now escaping her neurotoxin and cleverly grabbing her little cores one by one until she stops hurting me. Only then does she get completely obliterated, and that little song we all know and love, foreshadowing a potential future where GLaDOS may rise up again and hate you even more. So that's why I always recommend playing the first game, just to see what it's like. There is this vague, unnerving feeling that something is wrong here. You don't know why you're here, you don't know who GLaDOS is, and throughout the first half of the game, you realize there's really no way to escape. You're just kind of stuck here, following the orders of a robot that hates you and also knows way too much about you. It's a very isolated experience. You could say that Portal 2 is also an isolated experience, but I don't know, I just think without playing the first game, you're kind of missing a lot of good stuff, like why GLaDOS is mad at you, and why you're in the situation you're in. Yeah, so what, I said her name different, I'm mixing things up. I watched the developer commentary, they do say GLaDOS, but I don't know. Just want to try it. Which way do you pronounce it? Leave a comment down below. No, seriously. That's just my personal recommendation. Portal 2 is still an excellent game without the first one, but I don't know. Just my humble opinion. But anyway, Portal 2 expands on a lot of what the first game did in a lot of very solid ways, which make it more fun and interesting. Like the wavy thing and the gooey thing. The jumpy goo, the runny goo, the white goo that helps you when you're in a bit of a pickle. You can put portals there. It's pretty cool. It's interesting too to think that the game was almost gonna be a prequel, but they did the sequel instead, and honestly, I'm glad. Somebody made a prequel. They were also gonna experiment with a new type of gameplay thing that never happened. Nobody really knew what this was for over 10 years after it was mentioned. Everybody just assumed that Valve was keeping it a secret so nobody else would steal the idea. But apparently last year, that question was finally answered. If they would have done the Portal prequel as planned, you basically would have had something called an aperture camera, or f-stop. You would basically be able to take pictures of whatever's in your environment and make it as big and small as you want for whatever puzzles you face. 10 years later, and we now know it's going to be a game called Exposure. My curiosity has finally been tamed.
It's not like you're a flightless bird or anything. This cat loves lasagna so much that he eats all of the lasagna in his house.
You meet Wheatley pretty quickly and you get a portal gun. And right from the get-go, the game just feels bigger. We're even opening it up again 10 years later. And if you fast forward a lot, spoilers, apparently portal guns work in other places too.
You have got to be kidding me! Oh, you have... Space!
And then the ending is just beautiful. Turrets are singing, the flowers are blooming. I don't know what I'm saying, but it's beautiful. And yeah, that's the end of the game. If you somehow ignored the spoiler warning at the beginning, there's still like a million different things I haven't even mentioned yet. If I were to try to explain every little thing I love about Portal 2, it'd probably take somewhere around 7.5 hours, so you should just go play it yourself. But the point is, I just love this game. I love that you can make your own puzzles, discovering new things. I love them. I would love a Portal 3. That would be amazing. But, you know, Half-Life 3, Left 4 Dead 3, Team Fortress 3. Are these ever gonna happen? Probably not. So, what's up with Half-Life 3? Am I right? What, is Valve scared of the number 3 or something? If I had a nickel for every time I've heard that joke, I would have enough money to fund every single Valve game for the next 10 years. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but really, there was of course a VR demo, and not to mention Half-Life Alyx, so there might be some potential there, but I'm not betting on it. Valve still of course sees value in the future of the IP, with merchandise, Portal Bridge Constructor, Lego Dimensions, but it doesn't seem substantial enough at the moment to consider them as anything more than what they are. I mean, watch, Portal 3 is gonna get announced like a day after I put out this video. My luck, right? God, I hope so. I don't even care if I'm wrong. The upside though is that there's been tons of cool fan stuff made in the past decade. Videos, fan art, Portal Prelude, Portal Stories Mail, Above Aperture, Portal Reloaded, and tons of other cool mods and games. However, the original game has a particular special place in my heart. Both of these games are great on their own, and Portal 2 wouldn't be as great as it is without the first game existing at all. It also sets up the storyline for the co-op, which is also very fun. I just think overall that Portal 2 and Portal 1 are both very cool experiences. Some of my favorite videos to watch growing up were videos of people remaking Portal in real life through special special effects and old camcorders. It's one of the reasons I started editing videos in the first place, because damn it, I was gonna learn how to do that stupid Portal effect. Seriously though, the Portal games have obviously become a huge part of internet culture. It's also a game that has educational value. The Teach with Portals program, for example, teaches physics and problem solving through curriculums that thousands of teachers actively used and developed into their courses since 2012. Sadly though, I never learned how to make a portal gun myself, but I always wanted to. Playing the Portal games growing up really did feel like magic. Imagine just teleporting from one room to another all the time. Imagine how lazy you could be. That would be awesome. If 20 years from now somebody actually invents a portal gun, you bet your ass I'll be first in line. I mean, who didn't want a portal gun back in the 2010s? Beautiful. If even for just one day, I got to try it out. Aperture science hits me up, fatality rate, don't look at the operational end of the device. Sure, no problem, whatever, I'll take my chances. But damn it, if I could, I'd already have one. But seriously though, since Portal 1 and 2 came out, there's been a fair few games that have really stepped up to the plate in comparison. Superliminal is one of many examples of games that can quite literally offer a different perspective of what a puzzle game can be. Other great puzzle games like Antichamber and the Talos Principle take similar inspirations from Portal with their unique inner mechanics. Games like Stanley Parable share the same game engine as Portal, both games obviously having a seemingly omnipresent voice of sarcasm guiding you throughout the game. Also, there's a super obvious Portal Easter egg level. I like this game for different reasons, but the similarities are there.
You, trapped in a glass box with no way out. I don't think there's a simpler puzzle out there, and you've still broken it.
And honestly, I hope to see more games like this. Games like these that distort reality in all the right ways. And interesting enough that it makes you want it to be real. I really want a portal gun. I cannot state that enough. I wanted to talk about something I like. Sue me. In all seriousness though, both Portal games are not only clever, funny, and innovative, but they were also a huge source of childhood imagination. I wanted to believe this could be real, and even if it isn't yet, I still love immersing myself in the idea that science could progress to this point one day. Give me a couple years, I'll learn quantum physics. And even if that doesn't happen, well, it's still a really fun game. It's one of those games I'll replay over and over again and never get tired of it. And it's a series of games that'll always be in the back of my head, probably forever. This is just one of those games I was completely fascinated by. It's a brilliant concept, executed very well, and it's also very fun to play. I recommend it. And I give this game 5 out of 5 fish people. I don't know. So last thing I want to say is I'm curious about your thoughts. What do you think of the Portal games? More specifically, were there any games that you were really into when you were growing up? Or even maybe something you found recently? Because I'll be honest, I love talking about things I love. And I love it when you guys share stories in the comments or talk about your favorite things. I always read them because you guys got some pretty cool stuff to say, so. Oh, and also let me know if there's anything else you want me to talk about. I just really felt like nerding out about Portal today. If you want to subscribe and see more stuff like this, feel free. Thanks for watching. And as always, good vibes, everyone. Hey, thanks again for watching. So I actually got this video done a little sooner than expected. My original plan was to get this video out on October 10th, which is the 14-year anniversary of the original Portal. I was thinking about doing a stream instead, but I'm actually going to be out of town that week. So if you have any ideas, feel free to hit me up on Twitter. Happy anniversary. Celebrate responsibly. No, but seriously though, first thing I want to mention is that Bubbly Tears and I have been working on some cool Portal-inspired merchandise on the Teespring shop. Bubbly Tears is a very talented artist, feel free to check him out. This little design you saw towards the end of the video is actually going to be one of the stickers I put on the shop. And probably by the time this video is released, there's also going to be a second item. It's going to be a penguin holding a little portal gun. Probably t-shirts, stickers, cups, whatever you'd like. Feel free to check out the shop below. As always, they did a great job. Shout out to PurpulPancakes for this cool merch he got. If you happen to get some merch yourself, tag me on Twitter and I'll mention you in the next video. Also, one of my favorite projects right now is called Amoeba Network. I recently did the voiceover for a video about hypnagogia, including an exclusive interview with the developer of this really cool game about real dreams people have actually had. A game that slowly descends into darkness the further it goes. That video is honestly so fun to help work on. It's a great game, the developer is a really nice guy, and it was honestly one of my favorite dream-inspired games in a while. Check out Amoeba Network in the link below if you want to see it yourself. Not to mention, feel free to check out my Patreon if you want to see behind-the-scenes stuff about how I make my videos. I appreciate you watching. I had a lot of fun making this video. I tried not to overthink it, I just jumped right into it, and it was pretty fun to talk about a game I really love. Feel free to like the video if you liked it, subscribe, leave a comment talking about your favorite games, or maybe if you love Portal just as much as I do, we might have something in common. Take care, have a good day or night, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!